So what I am about to show you is not an exact science. There's not like a standard, this is how you do this, which means two things. One, I can't be wrong. And two, this is something I've kind of figured out on my own. I'm not saying that it's perfect at all, and this is something I'm regularly working on and trying to adapt and improve. The big thing is this right here is a copy of James Cameron's Dark Angel for the PlayStation 2. Now, the thing that I picked this copy up for is that there is, as you can see right there, price sticker on the cover art, okay? I've said this a bunch of times before, this is a really normal thing that a lot of Gamestops in my area did for a very long time. And I feel bad about it. You know, I feel bad about what we did because we were required to do this. One of the things that really motivated me to get into video game restoring is to be able to fix this kind of a mess. And to be able to go in and say, you know, I can take this sticker off cleanly. I've done this for a while. I've basically done this since I left GameStop. And it's still not an exact science. It's still not perfect. But a number of the techniques and approaches that I have, I think, work in some ways. And in other ways, they're still being refined. That kind of thing. So I'll just get into this and I'll kind of walk you through as we go along. Sometimes I will get something heavy and I will put it on top. You should still be able to see what that's going to do. These are just bags from, or boards from a comic book. So it's going to flatten out the cover art, make it a little easier to kind of work on. We have our Scotty Peeler, okay? And the Scotty Peeler is basically the only thing that I suggest using. Cat hairs everywhere. The only thing that I suggest using because it is used in document restoration to remove stickers and labels and things from documents, okay? Just cleaning it up with a little Heptane. This process that I'm about to show you, it's a Scotty Peeler that has to look like this and Heptane. And you have to use Heptane if you use my method because Heptane dries faster than it would saturate and soak the paper, okay? So if you used anything else, it would soak the paper, it would saturate the paper too quickly, making it so you can't do anything. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my Scotty Peeler and just go towards the corners, okay? Just very gently and keeping the peeler nice and flat, just go towards the corners. Now, as you're doing this, there's a couple of things that are going to be working against you. The folds of the paper will be working against you because the folds of the paper are going to cause creasing and you could quite possibly cut into one of the creases. And you don't want to do that because you will be damaging the cover art. The second thing that you're going to be working against is the adhesive on the paper itself. While it might be tempting to add a whole bunch of Heptane to release it, you don't want to do that at this step. You want to just get one little corner up, okay? So you see there we got one tiny little corner up right there, which is good. That's exactly what I want. So the next thing that I'm going to start doing is to add in just a little bit of Heptane, okay? If you add too much to the Q-tip, not a big problem. Just blow on it a little bit. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my tweezers and I'm going to pull up as I add a little bit of Heptane and just kind of see how it wants to move. If you get too much resistance on some spot, just stop, okay? And there will be times where I will go fairly quiet because I'm just looking at what it is that I'm doing. And then you want to check your Q-tip as you go along to make sure that it doesn't come back with any colors. Okay, so if it comes back with a black color or a blue color or something, you know that you've started to saturate the paper, which means you got to kind of hold off on everything and let it dry a little bit. And you can go back in. You've had too much liquid on the Q-tip itself. Okay. And again, there's not, you go online and you try to find, there's a lot of people that'll say a hair dryer. You know, a hair dryer will work in some instances. Some people say you have to just scrape on these things. Scraping will work too, but you really need to be careful with how much force you actually apply to the sticker itself so that you don't start peeling things up unnecessarily. By the time you get a good chunk of the label up, a good chunk of the sticker up, then you can start to grab it with your fingers, which I think does a little bit of a better job than tweezers. You can control it a little better. See, so I already scraped it a little bit, and that kind of thing is going to happen. I mean, you're going to scrape a little bit when you don't mean to. Just take your time. And if you're on a corner or a section that's a little difficult, add a little bit of Heptane and see if that helps. Okay. It's about now that I go, oh yeah, I forgot to do a before and after picture. Oh, that always happens. It's fine. Get back in there. And you'll feel when it starts to release, you'll feel, you know, everything start to move a little bit, but you don't want to get in there and go, oh yeah, man, everything's gone. This is great. You know, because you still have a fair bit of resistance from the adhesive. Now, as you're going along, what's happening right here, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's also impossible for me to like get a little closer. I'll highlight it if I can. What you're seeing right here is the paper's actually separating from the cover art, which is good. That's actually what we want, because I can deal with sticker residue on the cover art a little easier. And if the whole thing wants to peel up like that, if it wants to do this, let it. It's going to mean a little bit more work on the back end, but that's okay, because what that means is we're going to be dealing with more of just adhesive and less adhesive and paper. Okay, it's just as we're going along, just add a little more. Okay, and I'm doing a real gentle kind of pull. Okay, I'm not pulling really hard, and what we're hearing is a little bit of crackling, and what that crackling is the label itself separating. Okay, we're not hearing crackling from the cover art. Ooh, that's never good. We're not hearing crackling from the cover art. What we're hearing is just a little bit of crackling coming from, there we go. A little bit of crackling coming from the price label itself. So just work your way around. Okay, and then as I'm applying it, what I'm doing is I'm applying it more to the sticker than I am the cover art. And if that happens, that happens. Just go with that, okay? Not a big deal. Okay. So now we still have a fair bit of residue, and this is where it can get a little hanky. This is where it can get a little tough, because what we have to do is scrape up this without damaging the cover art. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll add a dab of Heptane onto here. This is also a little difficult because usually my face is like inches from the cover art. So to do this at a distance is different. Okay. And once you get to kind of a spot where you go, you know, hey, this is going well, that's when you should kind of look at it and go, okay, you know, do I need to reel it back in a little bit? You know, do I need to get back in there with the peeler? Like I said, just take your time with this. Because if you go too fast, in any instance, you will just shred the cover art. And if you get a chunk off, get rid of that chunk, okay? It is stuck on my finger. It is stuck to my glove. If you get a little bit of a chunk off, just take that piece off, because you don't want, we got heptane involved, we have residue involved, we have all kinds of things involved. You don't want to leave too much of that on there, so you want to get that stuff up. Okay, see how easy that is coming up? Now here's the thing, before I even get too much further, you know, set your expectations low-ish, just because what we're doing is removing adhesive from paper, but that adhesive has been on there for quite a while. Okay, so it's not going to come off perfectly, but there are some things that are going to play to our advantage, and we are going to be kind of able to, I don't want to say hide some of the issues, but I mean, yeah, there are going to be some issues that we can kind of, you know, not have as highlighted. So you see there? And just add a little bit just to get things kind of moving. Okay. You want to make sure as you're scraping and as you're going along that you are taking into consideration where the creases are too. Okay, so you don't, see, so like that's a good one. You don't want to scrape into the creases, and you want to use the liquid to your advantage. So, you know, move whatever it is that you need to move to get that good angle. You know, and if you can only clean one corner or one side, you know, that's good too. Just be very careful on some of these edges, because some of these edges are going to be a pain. And again, if you start to pull, and if you feel like you're in a spot where you can pull up a big chunk, add a little bit of heptane. You know, help it along a little bit. And the reason I say that is the minute that you start to pull and you hear that tearing noise and you go, oh yeah, this is going well, I'm peeling it up, the whole cover art will come up with you, okay? And you don't want that. Yep, there's another scrape right there I just did. Man. And like I said, this is not, you know, this is not at all an exact kind of science. Wish it was. How cool would that be? But it's not. Okay. And just keep an eye. Just keep an eye on the Q-tip. So I don't know if you can see that. We're getting a little tiny bit of discoloration. which is fine. It's to be expected. So what we're doing now is I'm going over it, and I'm just soaking the adhesive, and then just kind of wiping my finger across it. And I'm using the Q-tip to kind of scrub it a little bit. Okay, but again, I mean, keep an eye on the color, because that's going to tell you when you're doing too much. So this Heptane is going to break down the adhesive, okay? But it's kind of one of those, you have to get in there as soon as it breaks down the adhesive and make sure that it doesn't go any further. See, we got a little bit starting on there. So here is where you kind of have to use your best judgment to figure out when you've done enough. And a lot of times here's where I'll kind of take a break, and I'll take a step back and I'll say, let me look at what it is. Yeah, see, we're starting to get a lot more color up. And I'll take a step back and I'll say, let me look at what it is that we're doing, and let me look at how it looks, and do I need to keep going? I'm actually gonna put my face right up in it. Okay. Yeah, just... Honestly, that's about as far as I want to go on that one. It looks a little shadowy. That shadowing will fade. Yeah, it looks a little more shadowy than I would like. But I think that'll be okay. I think. Oh, gosh. Okay. So all this is a paper towel with like a tiny bit of Heptane in it. And what I'm doing now is just getting real up close, right up in the face, and I'm just kind of going through and cleaning off spots and everything. Seriously, that's about as far as I'm going to go on that one. It's not exact science. I say that a lot because it's not an exact science, but watch what'll happen is that this case is filthy. The case needs cleaned too. But the case is going to help me out a little bit, because the case is going to mask a little bit of the issuing. I'll clean up this case. Actually, I can clean up this case now, and you'll see kind of how it looks, and you'll see why I'm not too worried about getting it perfectly clean. The big thing is just getting the eyesore out. So I'm going to clean this case. We'll come back and we'll do kind of like a final view, that kind of thing. This case was in some rough shape, but what I wanted to show, actually I am able to show, is that, just a little bit of a wipe up, and you can't even tell. This case is a little hazy, that kind of thing. Yes, case is hazy. Yes, the game is from 2002. So, if you were to take the cover art out, could you tell? Yeah, because some idiot scratched it a couple times. But leaving it in there and everything, it's like, well, the big thing is that it's gone. You put this on a shelf. You put this on a shelf with a couple of other games right next to it. There's no mark on here. There's no, this on here. There's some natural wear and tear and everything, but the cover art itself is gone with fairly minimal damage to the cover art. Again, you're going to get scratches. You're going to get scrapes. That's just kind of how it goes when you do this. But I don't know. I think this looks better. yeah, it's an old game. There's probably kids watching this video that are younger than this game. Actually, wait. I don't know, maybe. I got another one that we'll do later. It's the same kind of issue, except it wraps all the way around on both sides, so that'll be interesting. And then I have a surprise game that I'll do in another one. But for now, this is kind of the one that I wanted to show you guys. Just taking the cover art, taking the sticker off the cover art, and getting it back to decent enough shape. It's not going to be perfect. It's not an exact science. It's not going to be perfect. And I stress that a lot when it comes to these kinds of things, because there are limitations to what you can do without damaging the cover art. So this will be part one of, I don't know, 3? Be part 1 of 3. I'll show you a couple of different methods, a couple of different examples. If I make a mistake, I'm going to leave it in here. Okay? If I make a mistake right there, I will leave it in, because I want you guys to see that this is not perfect. These scrapers are not perfect. That kind of thing. You're going to hit all kinds of inconsistencies and all kinds of things that you didn't expect. I've tried, and I know that this might come up, I've tried before where I will take the cover art and I'll press it in a book. The reason I don't do that is I've seen before where I'll put the cover art in a book, close it up, real heavy book, and put it at the bottom of a stack of other books. It'll actually crack this edge right here, because this edge has been so formed for so long that if you try to flatten it out, it'll actually crack it. So I try to not do that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I just don't want to do any more physical damage to the cover art than I need to. So, but there you go. That is part 1 of how to remove a price label from cover art. This is my gateway drug where I kind of got into this because of this. You're going to see a bunch more of these. I had a video on Twitter, Twitch. Yeah, Twitch. I had a video on Twitch. The video on Twitch, I made a mistake. And I actually used too much Heptane on the side because I was kind of rushing, and I used too much Heptane on the side, and I ended up pulling off a lot more ink than I was hoping for. So that's why I say when you get this done, take a step back and look at it and go, in the grand scheme of things, it's fine. The big part is just getting that eyesore off, and making it so that it looks nice on a shelf. We'll put this on the shelf. Do you put it under J or do you put it under D? I don't know. We'll put this on the shelf. We'll see how it looks. And it should look fine. The big thing is just getting the cover art clean and the price label removed. I honestly don't know what these do over time. I imagine it's going to wear into this. I've seen cases where there's a wear mark from these kinds of labels. So I try to remove them in any instance because they weren't there before. They shouldn't be there, and I put far too many of them on cover arts myself at the demand of GameStop corporate. As always, I appreciate all of you guys watching. I am still trying to make a repository of every single kind of video and every single kind of cleaning method that I can think of. If there is anything that I have not done that you would wish that I would, let me know in the comments below. Again, all of these methods, a lot of this is just stuff I figured out over the years. If you have a different way of doing it, I love to hear it. I love to hear other countries' methods, that kind of thing, especially when it comes to removing price labels from cover art. A lot of people don't try it. Hair dryers will work. I will do a hair dryer video. I don't like doing the hair dryer video because you are left with some residue that you still have to deal with, but I will do a hair dryer video. Don't you worry. Till next time, guys, I'm going to keep cleaning.